Okay, Sean, we got to know here. What are you asked about more often, Hocus Pocus or NCIS?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I think I gotta go with the NCIS. I'm gonna go with the NCIS just because we've been around for like 2 decades plus, and word travels.
Have you ever thought of NCIS Salem?
I've been trying to pitch NCIS Barstow for years, but no one seems interested. I'm not sure why. I think we could do it.
From the heart of Hollywood, it's the Patrick Labyorteaux Show with Patrick Labyorteaux.
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux Show. Patrick Labyorteaux. He's the one you gotta know.
Tonight's episode, Sean Murray.
Patrick Labyorteaux Show. He's the one you gotta know.
This is going to be amazing. You know him as Special Agent Timothy McGee from NCIS or Thackery Banks from Hocus Pocus. I know him for, get this, over 27 years from our time together on JAG, where he played troubled teen Danny Walden. Please welcome Sean Murray.
How you doing, Pat?
Hey, doing good, man. How are you?
Good to see you, bro.
Same here. Okay, so you've had like this legendary career on NCIS, of course, which we will get to. But one of the things to set the table here, when we first met, you were playing a guest starring role on JAG of this guy accused of raping this Japanese citizen in Japan.
Yeah, and it's funny. Sorry, go ahead. I was just thinking about the episode a couple hours ago. I knew I was coming to see you, so.
Right, and here's the thing. You have this problem bigger than I have. And again, we'll talk about this. I don't remember the episodes of JAG as far as what happens. I don't know if you were guilty or if you were innocent. Do you remember? I mean, it's your character. You might remember more than I would. But do you remember if you're...
Yeah, here's what I remember. I remember on trial for, possibly. What we end up finding out is that my character was in a secret relationship with the daughter of this family, this Japanese girl. And it was an honor thing. It had to do with families. They kept the relationship secret. They've been found out about, and he was innocent. He was innocent. He was trying to protect her honor, sort of deal.
Exactly. We got to work with Mako on that show, which again, one of the great things about long-running TV shows, I had it with Little House and JAG, and you have it obviously with, NCIS. You work with so many people that are legendary over the years, and Mako was one of them. I was so excited that, we got to work with him. Act 1, beginnings. So, Sean Murray,
Patrick,
where are you from? Why are you an actor? How'd that all come about?
I was just, I think just like a lot of, people that become actors, we grew up like huge fans of movies and TV, right? I mean, we loved that. So, and obviously there's other circumstances to it. I'm a naval brat. I was born at Bethesda Naval Hospital. I grew up on bases, up until into my early teens. So
you were doing research from the beginning.
Yeah, that's right. It's doing. Exactly. And I was living, I think my father was stationed out of Chula Vista, Bonita, down near San Diego. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were living down there. There was a call on the radio. There was a radio ad that was advertising, hey, do you want to be an extra, want to be background in a movie? There's a movie being, I guess this was the days where they did this sort of thing. They called out on the radio, come down to Jack Murphy Stadium. We're doing a movie with a baseball scene. And if you want to be a background, come get, interviewed stuff. So I begged my mother to let me go do this because it was just something I was, I had to see a set. I had to sort of just see what was going on. It just really interested me. So we went, we go down to Jack Murphy Stadium. We find out they're basically doing, for like 3 days, they're filming a baseball game. They need a lot of background, yada, yada, yada. So we're standing in a line, and there's someone from the production at the time. I don't know who this is. It's probably a second AD, something like that. A second is going down the line and picking every few people to stand in a second line. And he walks by, doesn't pick me. But after he was walking by me, I jump in the other line. Because I figured if he's picking you, there's a reason. It's probably a good reason. So anyway, they march us down. They take our info. I get a call to I get to be one of the background on this thing. Go in there. It's a Steve Martin movie called My Blue Heaven.
Oh, that's a
And
great movie.
oh, it's a great movie, and it's Steve Martin, Rick Moranis, Joan Cusack. And it was just killer. But there's a baseball scene anyway that I was sitting right behind those guys, and there were a couple kids that were in the movie as well. That were around my age, and we were there for like 2-3 days filming this. So you're sitting around, you know how it is. You just start talking, everyone starts talking, and after 2 days of knowing these kids and a little bit, and just sort of being around, seeing scenes be done, I kind of just was like, you know what, I can do this. I want to do this. It's fantastic. Like I could totally. This needs to be where I work. This sort of place. So anyway, so that's what like made me really kind of want, at that point, want to go seek out the adventure of that.
So you literally snuck into the business.
I literally did. I snuck in. I was not picked to be a background, but I snuck in and I became background. And when I saw, a set and just the way everything works, I was just still, it's my favorite thing in the world.
That's a reoccurring thing that comes up on this podcast when I talk to people, is that once they see a set and they see the carnival-like atmosphere, and I mean carnival or circus-like atmosphere, where it's a contained world that they get to play in, and the magic that happens on a set, people kind of get attracted to that. So, how are you getting down there? Your mom's driving you? How are you getting to this set? I mean, is it because you got to enlist help?
Oh no, absolutely. And my parents were going through a divorce at the time. So and my mom, so my mom was kind of she was down to go on the adventure with me when it was like, hey, this is something I'm really interested in and really makes me happy and stuff. She, supported that. My dad did too, but my mom was the one who, drove me to Jack Murphy Stadium and, we did all that sort of thing. And after I was on that set, which by the way, just because I'll probably forget to mention it, one of the kids that was in the movie, I believe his name is Jesse Bradford.
Oh yeah, from Grey's Anatomy.
He's done a ton of stuff. He ended up coming and guest starring on NCIS like a couple of years ago, and I was like, Jesse, guess what, man? You're part of the reason I'm here. So it was actually pretty cool to have that. But then after that, I remember I think we got like a local agent, and I got like a local agent in San Diego.
So you're getting this local agent. One of the next big things on here is there's a credit here for A Boy's Life, which was like this great movie with the camera.
Oh yeah, This Boy's Life.
How did that come about?
This Boy's Life was early I think I was like 13, maybe. Yeah, like I think 13, maybe 14. But I was actually up for the lead role in Boy's Life. And it was down to like 4 of us. And it was Leo, me, an unknown Tobey Maguire, and a kid, I believe a kid named Chris Pettit as well, who was kind of, Anyway, we all went in to we had all these auditions together, blah, blah, blah. We went in to Warner Brothers on a Saturday morning to read with Bobby De Niro. The director was Michael Caton Jones. And so I remember us all kind of being in the room for a couple of hours in the waiting room at Warner Brothers, whatever office waiting room you're in or something. But I just remember going in and by this point I knew the script really well. But going in with De Niro and Caton Jones and a kid with like a VHS recorder, camcorder, taping the session, and spent like an hour just going through scenes. And that was a lot of fun. That was a good memory.
That's a long, just so people know, that's a long time in the room, especially.
Oh yeah. No,
type of powerful guys. That's like, I mean, that's a really intense situation.
Yeah, it was, and I was. It's funny because I was, there's sort of also that great thing about being young and not knowing quite what all that you're into.
Right.
I mean, it was it was intimidating, but probably now so would be that, much more intimidating, that sort of environment. But it's, I think at that point it was something where, This Boy's Life was a movie where that kid was the lead of the film. It was all about this boy.
Yeah.
And I think, they wanted to really hone in on the figuring out who the kid was, and they went with Leo, which was fantastic. And actually, Michael Keaton Jones ended up putting Toby and I in tiny roles in the movie somewhere. Toby's like a friend. He shows up, Toby Maguire, and I'm one of his buddies that's around when he gets in this big drag out fight with a schoolmate. But I actually remember going out. Leo, I knew very well from auditioning and just being around. I mean, like we used to
Right.
play Street Fighter 2 at the arcade down at like 7-Eleven on Olympic. And I know from auditions, but I'd never
Yeah.
like worked with him proper. And we went out to go do the scene. We were up in this place called Concrete, Washington State, in the middle of just the forest. It's incredible. But we're out there, and we start doing this scene, and I'm like, within 5 minutes, I am bowled over by how good Leo is. Like I
Wow.
couldn't
It
believe
was
it, and
that
it
dramatic
was
of an
that I
impression.
was I was like 13 years old. I didn't know shit about shit, and I was like, this kid's gonna be a movie star. Like, oh my god! And it's funny because people to this day ask me like, when have you, have there ever been times you work with someone or just been like, really where it just kind of hits you like that? I'm like, yeah, Leo. I was 13. He was, I think, 14. But we go and we start doing the scene and we're ad libbing. Caton Jones has us
Uh-huh.
ad libbing the scene, doing all kinds of stuff. But I just remember being like, oh my God, this kid is so good. And I knew him, but I didn't know, I hadn't worked with him.
Yeah, it's so
Um,
amazing, when you're talking about a guy like De Niro,
yeah.
and this happens a lot with the older actors. I say that at 60. The older actors that I would work with, where you go into a room and you're working with him for an hour, right?
Right.
I
Right.
would guess that, not that you thought this, but at the same time, you might have thought, it's like, well, he just seemed like a normal guy.
Yeah.
A guy like De Niro, when you watch what they're doing, sometimes you can't see what they're doing, but the camera can, right?
Oh,
Cameras see
100%. And
stuff that not people see, but like a guy like a Leo, where there's a star wattage,
yeah.
that's very noticeable. I'm not saying one's better than the other, but I was
Right.
one of the guys on the show here, Dean Devlin, who's an actor but more of a
Yeah.
producer. He worked with Al Pacino, right? He was Al
Mhm.
Pacino's driver,
Yeah.
and he tells a story about how Al Pacino, the director, says we need to do that scene again because I didn't get what I needed from you. And Al says, "Did you see the dailies?" And he goes, "I haven't seen the dailies yet." And he goes, "Watch the dailies." And like Al Pacino knew, and when the guy watched the dailies, he was like, "Oh, I see. He's doing stuff that I'm not picking up, but the camera is."
Yeah. It's actually really funny that you say that, Patrick, because my first occurrence of what exactly you're talking about was watching them film a little. It was a couple lines. It was De Niro's character in Boy's Life coming out of like a small shop or going into a small shop, and I think sitting down on a bench. And I remember watching him film it because we jumped around a lot while we were there. But I remember them watching. I remember watching him film it and going like, okay, well, I don't really see anything happen. I mean, I guess that's Robert De Niro and stuff. I'm like, okay, and then seeing the film of it and going like, holy, what? I saw none of that when we were
Right,
filming it. Meanwhile, I'm seeing all these subtle things, these choices, these like little magic things happen, like every, you know,
right.
and none of it I saw when we were like, when I was actually as far as yeah. So I know what you mean. So I think Pacino and De Niro are probably in similar category as far as
I would say, and
from that
they've got
world of like,
I think they're going to do okay.
yeah, they'll
But
do okay. I
again,
think they'll do it.
and like you said, here you are. I mean, geez, man, This Boy's Life. You're working with De Niro and Leonardo DiCaprio at the time, not knowing, but then
Yeah,
recognizing. That's not like an episode of Zoom or something as a kid actor. You're like
yeah.
in the midst of it with all of these big performances and big actors. Did that how or not did it? How did that affect you and shape you? As like, did it inspire you to want to do a certain type of acting, or did it teach you anything? Or
It was, I mean, it was a couple of things. I think this boy's life was actually pretty like instrumental in me wanting to do this thing too, because Leo was Leo was like a contemporary when I started as a kid. We were kind of, we had a similar look. We had, for whatever reason, we
sure,
were up for the same stuff a lot as kids. So when Boys Life happened and Leo got it, and just kind of took off from there, that always inspired me, like tremendously. Like the fact, like Leo has always to me been a great example for me, and because of where I come from and everything, as like, oh, see, one of us can do that. One of us did that
uh-huh.
as far as got to that place. Because there's something, and who knows what it is, but there's a relatableness for me with him and that stuff. Whereas I like, there's
Oh,
other actors
absolutely.
there's so many others actors that I knew who were so jealous of that, the success and stuff that kid saw. And you can understand that to a degree, but for me, it was, I have always been, to me, it's always like Leo's thing has always been inspiring to me because,
Yeah.
he came from basically kind of where I came from. So,
It's
to me, that
interesting
was
when
always like, see, you can go in there and play with the big boys and do that stuff. See, he did it.
right,
There was an
and
element
the
of that.
acknowledgement there, the acknowledgement too of, for me, I get jealous when I don't respect the actor and they get the part, or which has
Oh,
happened.
I
It's
hear you.
like,
I
oh,
hear you.
for whatever it is. But with a
Yeah.
guy like Leo or the guys that you're talking about, Toby is another one. I mean, and I get
Yeah.
it. My group, not that we hung out, but Tom Cruise, Michael J. Fox, that age of guy I was
Yeah.
auditioning with, see
Right.
them in the room. In your age, seeing those guys in the room, when the guy with the talent gets it and does a knockout job, you're not upset. It's not like, oh, well, I did it better. I could have gotten that part. It's like,
Right.
oh, I see what they went with.
Yes.
As opposed to like, oh, I get it. That's why he got that part. Cause it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
whatever the BS reason is.
Sure.
I want to go back just a little bit. I find it interesting. Navy brat, right? Navy, or was it? Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Navy.
Navy. My father was 30-year retired captain.
When you're moving around like that, is it the love of movies because you can bring those friends with you everywhere? Did you have a group of movies that were like your friends? Like for me, it was Star Wars and like science fiction movies that I didn't move around a lot, but whenever I would
Yeah.
go to some place that was new or I needed some comfort, it would be a particular set of movies. Did you have that type of
Yeah.
movie list?
You know, eh, honestly, no. I didn't
Okay.
really. Yeah. That didn't. What I do think though is that I think there was maybe an element of, I remember, because you would go to a new place, start a new school every 2 years, you wouldn't be in one place. I remember there was this element, and it's just, you're a kid, so of being able to reinvent yourself. I remember
Right.
as a kid this element of like being like, oh, this is going to be a new world with new possibilities and new people and maybe a new me,
What
or
was your
just
best reinvention? What was your best
you
character of Sean?
I don't know. I think you're just coming up with, you're just trying to get by, trying to get through, whatever new school you're in
Uh-huh.
and what new kids you're dealing with, and whatever that is. But I think there's also an element to, there's something as actors we do. I know, this particular show NCIS have been doing for like 2 decades, but typically, we do jobs, we go in for a little bit with a family, we work really, 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 really hard, and then you
Hmm.
go your separate ways.
Yeah.
So I think kind of going into a production and throwing yourself into this world of make believe and stuff, and then going somewhere else after a little while, it made sense to me because that's kind of what I did. I think.
That's interesting. I
Just
want to talk about the contrast because you and a limited number of people have experienced what you've experienced when you do a show for that long, which is
yeah.
not the norm. It's not the norm.
Oh, it couldn't be
And
more far from the norm. Yeah.
and the strangest thing is that there's been more change in your cast than there has in the crew. So it's like there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that go on with that. But before we
Sure.
get there, I want to talk about this boy's life. How does that lead to Hocus Pocus? I mean, where does Hocus Pocus come in?
Well, Hocus Pocus was, they were doing, casting this big Halloween movie with these kids and stuff, and it was something that was just happening through the audition circuit. I auditioned for it, um, and God, I remember. You know what's actually funny? Not to like beat a dead horse, bring this up, but Leo was actually going to
Right.
do Hocus Pocus. He was going to be the kid in Hocus Pocus
Uh-huh.
early on, and he ended up not doing it to opt to go do a movie called Gilbert Grape. And I remember the script for
What
Gilbert
happened to this
Grape.
poor kid?
Yeah, I know, right? I remember the script for Gilbert Grape floating around agencies and management companies, like when it was sort of being shopped and stuff, and no one could make heads or tails of it. It was like, what is this strange indie film about? No. But
Yeah.
anyway, Hocus Pocus was going to be the big Disney movie with the kids and the whole thing. And anyway, yeah, Leo did
Didn't
that.
Kenny
And
Ortega direct that, or is
Kenny
that no?
Ortega directed it, who did all the
Okay.
High School Musicals, and I think he
Right.
did Newsies. Newsies was the one he did before Hocus Pocus.
Which
And
was with Christian Bale.
yeah,
Again,
with
it's like
Christian Bale, exactly. Um,
guy knows casting. That's for sure.
yeah, Kenny's great. Loved Kenny. But that was something I just, through the audition circuits, just ended up booking. I mean, it was, it was an early job, and
So
it's
how
funny.
long before it becomes something that everyone kind of says, "Oh wow"? I guess when movies started to be seasonal, obviously Hocus Pocus, it's great for Halloween and it comes
Right.
back. When did you start noticing that it was like a thing?
Well, it's funny. We like it was a Halloween movie. I think it came out in like May for some reason. I'm not sure why. It didn't
Yeah.
do well at all. It made like very little the opening weekend. I remember Bette Midler making some public comment about that it was a bomb or something. So it was just sort of generally agreed upon that it was the Disney Halloween bomb movie. I remember
Right.
that weekend. You know what? That weekend. What was the movie coming out? And everyone was like, "Oh, no one's going to go see that. Don't worry, we're fine. Opening weekend will be fine." I think it was Free Willy. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Free Willy.
Yeah, which became like a phenomenon.
Right.
But anyway, that was our competition opening. So anyway, yeah, Hocus Pocus just kind of fizzled out pretty quick. But I gotta give it up to Disney and the machine that they are, because through the way that Disney work does their through rentals, through VHS, and
Hmm.
just the way it was kind of their machine over the years, it became a thing that people were watching and got into. And it's funny because I didn't think about it at the time, but it's sort of been brought to my attention. Like there's not a lot of like Halloween themed movies with kids that where it's kind of fun and accessible and the whole family can enjoy it. It's usually something way too dark or something. But so
Right.
it kind of like inhabited this area that like a lot of people just over the years were like started getting into it. And it's way more popular now than it was when we made the movie. It's
Did they
wild.
ever contact you for the sequel to be a part of that in any type of
I remember
position?
talking to Kenny well, no, because I knew they was always talk about them possibly doing one at some point, but it was always going to be
Right.
about those three witches. It was about those
Of
women. I mean,
course.
that's
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus is, Beth, Sarah, Kathy, and what they did. So, it always, I guess I always kind of, I knew that if they ever did a sequel, I never expected to see my character again, see Thackery or Banks or anyone again. I figured it would be about the women, and it was. So, I mean, I got asked about it for years
Yeah.
actually before they even made the sequel. I got asked about it a lot. But yeah, when they did it, and
The strangest thing to me is that they botched the sequel as well, as far as they put it to Disney instead of they should have had a theatrical release. I mean, it was the perfect example of you built this thing on DVD rentals, sales, and
yeah,
having it in the catalog. And
right.
then, they sent it to Disney Plus. I'm sure they had reasons, but I thought they could
Mhm.
have done so much money in a theatrical release. But
Yeah,
whatever.
I don't, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure why they handled things the way they did. I don't know why a lot of that stuff works the way it does, you know.
Michael
And
Eisner's not calling, not getting your opinion.
right.
Okay, so this is really shaping up. I'm beginning to understand this whole thing. So
Hmm.
you're this young dude, and again, people, and I've interviewed people in my group. You have a group. People have groups. Like these waves of, like when waves hit the shore at the beach, different waves
Yeah,
come in. There's a wave of you and Toby and Leo, like you're talking about, along with a
yeah.
number of other actors. RDJ, Robert Russler, I guess, are in the same era of that. You're in town, you're getting work, you get on
Mhm.
this show, you get on this show called Hearts of the West, which again
I know.
is like your first series. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll jump to the part that this is also the first time. I don't know. Did you work with Harmon here, or was he just on the show here?
No, I worked with Harmon and met Harmon on our episode 2 of Hearts of the West. I was 15 years old. That was
And this,
yeah.
I mean, it was like, okay, so we'll get to Mark Harmon later, but I mean, around this time, this was in when Mark was in cowboy mode, and he was
Oh
doing
yeah.
all his Kevin Costner stuff and
Yeah,
cowboy stuff.
I think that was where with the Western what am I thinking? Not the Wyatt Earp movie.
Right,
Right. I think
right,
it was that was kind of
exactly.
around the time Mark was rocking the big like,
Yep.
mustache. Yeah, it was looking good. Yeah.
But aside from Mark, who was just once, I mean, you're working with Bo Bridges, and then Lloyd
Yeah.
shows
And
up, and a
Lloyd,
bunch of
yeah.
other, and then Stephen Root's in the show.
Even Rude, Olan Jones.
You've
I mean,
got
yeah.
this great experience on this TV show. It ran for, I think it says 16 or so episodes,
Yeah, we
which
did basically just shy of a season, I think.
if you weren't on NCIS, it would be so easy to say that, this is a huge show because I'm sure you're getting 10, 12 million people back then,
Hmm.
and they say, oh, it's not successful. What was
Right.
your experience for your first big run of shows, which is kind of ridiculous now considering how many episodes you've done of NCIS, but at that time, it's a big
Yeah.
deal. How do you experience that?
Talking about Hearts of the West and doing that season that we did.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was Hearts of the West was Hearts of the West was pretty awesome. I mean, yeah, that was my first go as a on a series being a regular and full time cast member. We had so many good people. I mean, like you said, we're talking about Stephen Root and the Bridges, and it's funny actually talking about I remember Stephen Tobolowsky came a guest, and he was
Oh, wow.
fantastic. Yeah, Tobolowsky,
And
but
I think Ethan Embry was on there as well,
Ethan
and a
Embry.
couple. Yeah, yeah,
Speaking of, Ethan was another
right.
fellow guy as I grew up. I knew Ethan very, very well. We were also up for a lot of the same stuff together, had a similar look. But yeah, so Ethan did it. We had, oh boy, it was really good. Harmon came in. Jeff Bridges was actually going to play this cowboy Sam Carver in our second episode.
Uh
And he
huh.
was doing, I think, a movie called America. He was doing a movie at the time. They couldn't get the scheduling worked out, so Jeff was, even though he was around a little bit, we weren't able.
Right.
He wasn't able to do the part when we needed, filming. So Harmon came in, and obviously, I even knew who Mark Harmon was. Of course, when he came on, and everything, and yeah, he was such a force, man, and he was like, and we'll get into Mark later, but Mark made a real impression real quick, and we got along real well, and so double
Well,
back
okay.
10
Well, I
years
mean, we're
later.
here. We're here for that. Like, what was the impression you got from Harmon at that on that
Mark
show?
Mark was Mark just he there was an element to him where he was. I mean, Mark, and I think a lot of people kind of know this about Harmon. Mark is a very grounded, very fair, very just a good guy, and he's very fair with people. He wants to, when he sees people that want to learn things, he'll be a little bit of a teacher, sometimes. And I think there was an element that he saw a little bit of that with me, with
Mm.
him. But he could tell I very much was into. Um, acting, the craft of it, what we were doing, how to, and Mark began to teach me a lot of things that years later on NCIS, when we spent so much time together. I've learned so much from Mark. So it's almost hard. I've known the guy for so long,
Right.
and but I just remember feeling like a bit like that I could feel like I felt like he was going to be a mentor to me in some way. I really did.
Well, the thing I think about Mark, and more than anything, we did a TV movie called Prince of Bel-Air together, and then we did Summer School. So that's how I know Mark. And then, of course, all the stuff that we did, all of us together. But
Yeah.
he told me a story. We were driving around. We had this TV movie where we were driving around in this truck doing like driving shots. And so we had a lot of time together where we would just talk. And we were in the Westwood area, and he would tell me stories about being, a quarterback and he was the star quarterback at UCLA.
Right.
And his father's like, Heisman Trophy winner.
Heisman Trophy winner Tom Harmon, yeah.
And I don't know if he's ever talked about it. I would imagine that Gibbs is a lot of what his dad was. Very, very, like just quiet and intense. But I always thought of Mark as what he was in college as a quarterback, and that when I worked with him, that's what it felt like. That he wants to bring the whole team along. Like you're saying, it's like he wants that. Unlike a lot of actors where it's like, okay, I've got these people to make sure this is about me, because it can very much seem like that. Everyone on the set is looking at you. Cameras are rolling on you. Sure. Lights are on you.
Right.
But Harmon would always cut lines. He would always give lines away because he's like for the team. You can back that up or not, but that's how I always thought of it.
Patrick, you're 100% spot on. From the get-go absolutely. And, when we started NCIS and NCIS started picking up steam, Mark was the first one to stand in line with us and push us all out front and make people understand it was an ensemble, the show, even though it centered around Gibbs and all that stuff. But yes, there's Harmon very much is the quarterback that wants to take care of the team, and lead the team to a good win.
We'll be back after these messages. Have you ever thought about becoming an actor and making your friends and family jealous? Well, have I got a deal for you. Here at Working Actors School, we offer many different classes so you can become a famous actor like me. And we have a delightful selection of classes, including Adult Weekly. It's every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Here you will learn how to be an actor with other adults. How do we do it? How is it possible? Is it a miracle? Yes, it is. A miracle called Zoom. We teach everything online so you can become a famous actor and impress your friends and family. So if you want to be a famous actor and make your friends and family jealous, then you need to sign up at Working Actors School. You can get a hold of us at workingactorschool.com. You can sign up for classes at workingactorschool.com. You can make a reservation for the class online at workingactorschool.com. So come check us out. It's workingactorschool.com. Act 2, Success. So Hearts of the West ends. You go back to doing lots of different guest stars. You're on ER, Silk Stockings, Touched by an Angel, Boston Public. This is like an excellent resume by any standards. You end up doing a guest star on JAG.
Yes.
And then you end up being on Danny Walden. Again, JAG's fine. We'll talk about JAG, Don, your mom, and NCIS all kind of together. I know this is random, but I got to tell you, the random years is a big deal to me.
Really?
Yeah, I love that show. I thought you were great in that show. I thought the show was a really unique, good concoction.
Thank you, by the way. If no one has ever said that to me.
Oh, it was on for like a blip, but again, because the way, let me just lay it out this way. So I did this show Last Frontier. It was the Fox's version of Friends. We did like 8 episodes, and then they canceled us. You were on UPN, and I don't know how many episodes you shot, but I think there were 3 on.
I think we shot 6, if I recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, here's the deal. So I'm a big fan of Will Friedle, not from, from Boy Meets World.
Yeah.
I always saw him as being like, I just don't understand. I think it's more him than anything else. Why he wasn't like mammoth huge. He's just a great freaking comedic genius,
Swear to God, I feel the exact same way. Exactly what
right?
you're talking about. I've always felt that way about Will. Yes.
And you guys together, there was a third guy on the show who played
Yeah.
the
Josh
neighbor,
Ackerman was the actor. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No shade to Josh Ackerman, but it
No.
was absolutely you and Will had something happening, and it was just like that's so rare. And I remember because, as an actor or someone in the business, you try to watch everything you can to see exactly what's going on out there. And I remember
Yeah.
finding that show and going, "Oh, this thing's going to run forever." And then I couldn't find it anymore. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going on? How I want to position it to you as far as your career. What's the sliding doors on the idea of like, a different way of life that could have been if you're the star of a sitcom, which I love that format, or
Oh,
the
me
star
too. Me
of
too.
of the drama. And you were really good at the sitcom. So now that I've talked all about this, The Random Years was this show. It was about after college, about these three guys. You seemed to play like the grungy ne'er do well, and were just absolutely hysterical. Will Friedle played the more productive web designer or whatever it was that he had going on.
Right.
Can you talk to me about that, about your experience and about how you
Yeah.
found working on a sitcom?
Um, that was a big. That was, I think, one of the, yeah, that was a few times I'd worked in the sitcom format. And so
Mm-hmm.
that was, just a whole brand new animal to me in every way. I'd grown up, the time I'd spent working was always on film. So I'd never been in the sitcom format and everything. So it was just a learning experience for me from the get go, and I just remember, yeah, throwing myself into it. I remember the first time on that first episode, coming out and doing the first joke and getting real laughs. And the second that happens and you feel that and hear that, like your whole world switches, you know? And the same thing when you go tell a joke and no one laughs, your whole world switches in that way too. Yeah. So just that was wild, but I haven't thought about that in a while, just doing, because it's almost like doing theater in a weird kind of way, when you're dealing with a live
It's
element and the energy in a
yeah.
room, and yeah, so I mean, it's
No,
different as theater and as
people who
sitcom.
listen to the show know I would die to be on a sitcom, mainly
Yeah,
because it's everything I love. The sitcoms that I was on, we ran a sitcom. Tina and I created a show for Nickelodeon called See Dad Run. Our
yeah,
schedule was Monday through Friday. You get a
uh-huh.
table read on Monday, and you're putting a show on. Let's put on a show on Friday with an audience. And like you say, it's that crack addicted, that laugh. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
I got to have more of this.
Oh
And
yeah,
then when you're working on a show with a guy like Will, where he can take a line, both of you did, but you guys were able to take dialogue that was standard sitcom good, no shade, but like make it better. Like, and that's what you hope for.
that's nice to hear, man. Thanks.
Yeah, I felt bad for that one because you guys should have gone longer than that.
Yeah, and I mean, in our case, it was just a victim of low ratings. I was telling Gary Cole, who I work with on NCIS, the other day.
Yeah.
I was like,
Another great comedian.
"Oh, Gary's incredible, incredible." But I was telling Gary about random years, and I said it's the first time I ever heard the term indefinite hiatus. I remember, I remember one of our ads going like, I think we were somewhere, yeah, rehearsing the sixth episode, and it was like, so we just got we will be going on indefinite hiatus, and I was the one going, what does that mean? Can you guys tell me
Right,
what
right.
that means?
You're on a show
That's
called
right.
NCIS. It's,
Yeah.
hopefully, fingers crossed, we do well. So first you're on JAG. Let's just get the family connections straight.
Yeah.
Viv is your mom, has been your mom since you were a kid. She was your mom, right?
Viv's my mom. Yes.
Chad's your brother. So
Yes.
Viv meets this guy. They fall in love. They get together, and he's Don Belisario, and he's created JAG and Quantum Leap and Magnum PI and all these great shows.
Yeah.
and we're doing Jag. I remember meeting your mom. I guess it would be after, because I met you first on the guest star, but I remember hanging out with your mom more because she was on the set.
Right.
And then you come in on Jag for Danny. How did that happen as far as, like, when did you find out that you were coming back? Because I imagine Jag's just a straight up audition for the first guest star, right? You just go and read and you did the show.
Yeah, it was
and
a
great job.
Straight read. Thanks, man. Just came, did the normal read, kind of, and I had done that initial guest star on Jag, and then I think it was a couple years later when the Danny Walden character came about, and Dawn had asked me, kind of told me a little bit about it, and asked me if I was interested, in doing it, and I was, absolutely. So that was, I think I did 3 or 4 episodes as Danny Walden. Something. He was like Admiral Chedwigan was his the woman he was dating. I was the punk son of this,
Exactly.
of this woman he was dating. I think I was running around selling marijuana and getting into trouble and doing. I think Chedwigan saved me from either. I think it was a prison
from a
or
life of crime.
military. A life of crime. That's right. That's exactly right.
So, okay, I just, again, setting the table for working with Don Belisario. Don Belisario was my hero, still is, but I was a big fan of Magnum, big fan of Battlestar Galactica, Tales of the Gold Monkey, Baba Black Sheep. I knew who this guy was. I read for the pilot. He hires me for the pilot. I do the pilot. I get this other show on Fox. I can't do the first year. The whole big thing, NBC stops us. Then we start back on CBS. He brings me back in. So now I'm working with Don Belisario, and I'm just like over the moon. This is like, he is the best version of a cliche that you can imagine. A Marine smoking cigars, writing scripts, coming up with stories, don't know where it's going to end, but here's what's going to happen. And it's like, he's a great director.
Oh,
what? And he works with his family. His two of his kids were producers on our show.
Right.
Troy and his daughter ends up being this great actress. She did an episode of Jag that I worked with her on specifically.
And she did an early NCIS episode as well. Played my sister.
Right. I mean, she's just, so Don classically works or has his family come in. You're in a really weird situation, and I'm just going to call it out. Now you're his stepson. Don's got a lot of kids. Now you're another kid. I'm going to phrase it like this. There's one group of people on the internet that'll go, oh, he got Jag because of Don. I look at it like Don was lucky to get you to do the part on Jag because you got this great career. It's not like he did you any favors in that sense.
I'd been doing it for a while. I had done well. So, I was a working actor for a long time. It definitely was not, it's funny because I hear, the nepotism thing brought up sometimes, not often, but, it gets brought up sometimes. And, as you or anyone else that knows Don knows, I don't think Don gives a shit who you're related to. If you're not doing well at what you need to be doing well at, it's going to be a problem. What Don cares about is the quality of the work more so than anything, and I think that, whether, and I think there were times when he, knew that the people around him can help him tell the story and do what he, needs to do. I got my relationship with Don for years was really only as working with him as a producer director. You know what I mean? Unlike Troyan or Michael or I didn't grow up in the family. I wasn't around, for that stuff. So Don was really, a guy that I worked for that, actually my younger brother, Chad, and Michael Belisario introduced them. They went to high school together. They went to Notre Dame together, and they introduced them on a date to go together. Yeah, so that's how they met, was through my little brother. Yeah, I knew. That was kind of my relationship with Don for the first couple of years, was more so of like just working for him.
So you're on Jag. You do these parts, which are ostensibly a part of a sub story for Chegwood. You perform extremely well. You do well on them. Then Don is trying to create a new show when
Yeah.
NCIS appears on JAG. It was a 2-episode backdoor pilot with Ice Queen and something else. And it had, I'm forgetting her name now. She's from an acting family. She's red hair. She's beautiful. She was the female lead.
Lively, Robin Lively.
Yeah, Robin
Yeah.
Lively. And then they had another group of people. I think Michael was involved, but it was like this group of people that kind of came in, and like any pilot, it's like everyone's trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
So we started on JAG. It becomes Navy NCIS to Don's
Right.
consternation because the
Yeah.
N in NCIS is Navy.
Right. Navy Naval.
How did you get into this situation, and what were your thoughts about it?
Don, obviously created NCIS, off of JAG, and he was starting, the adventure of NCIS. And McGee was actually not a member of the team when the show initially started. There was no McGee, and the character of McGee appeared in episode 5 of the first season. That was that was supposed to be kind of initially the one and only appearance of this rookie agent, this rookie Norfolk agent that was helping them out while they were at the Norfolk base. Um, yeah, it was just supposed to be sort of a one-time thing. This character,
Yeah.
Obviously,
Proby.
Don knew, and obviously, I'd worked with Don. Don knew and thought that I could, do this. Sent me the script for the thing for the episode. Asked me if I was interested, of course, we actually finished that up. It was a really good experience. First off, seeing Harmon again, doing that, and getting to know Weatherly and all those other guys was really cool. But anyway, we finished the episode. My character wasn't killed or wasn't imprisoned or anything, so it was sort of little open ended. It was like, hey, maybe we'll see this rookie kid again one day. We don't know, kind of. How those go.
Yeah.
And then I think they did the 6th episode, and then the episode after that. And when they put it together, they were like 3 minutes short. And they were like, well, now we need like a whole C story in here. Like they knew they were running short as they were getting, closer on the episode. And so they said, well, let's bring McGee back and we'll stick him with with Weatherly again. And we'll have a thing there. And so that's how it initially ended up, McGee ended up returning, was to fill time that they were missing on an episode. And things just, there was just there was a sense there when we were doing NCIS of we felt like we were onto something, and the character that I was playing, McGee, was a different slice of pizza than the other pizzas in the show.
Oh,
It kind of, it was like he embodied everything rookie and all that whole sort of way of things, so McGee came back that second time. We had a little thing. Then McGee started showing up in the scripts after that as a Norfolk agent that would come in to help them sometimes. And it just, so then it became like a recurring thing for several episodes. And there was this kind of snowball
it goes back to the comedy though, because Weatherly's an amazing comedian as well. And when you
Weatherly's one of the most
somebody,
amazing comedians I've ever known.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, and again,
Yep.
I hate him because he can be, you can be good looking or you can be funny. Just pick one, please. Just pick one,
Right.
But you guys had this great relationship, and Harmon has another great quality of actually being able to be a straight man, which is also very difficult.
Well, I
think all of those things work together.
Yeah, and actually, I became a bit of a street man for Denozo, for Weatherly, and
Oh, absolutely.
they put us together pretty quickly. And one of the things that obviously this, and I'm sure a lot of people do, but Michael does a lot of ad libbing. He likes to do everything except for what's in the script sometimes.
Uh-huh.
So Weatherly proved pretty early. I mean, I remember early on when he started the initial sort of run of his ad lib approach. I remember the episode he was doing it on. I remember him turning to me going, "Oh, Don's going to fire me. I'm done. Don's going to fire me. He's going to be, I'm doing Bill Murray impressions. I'm like doing this, I'm doing that. He's going to be, because we're all afraid of Don. If you work for Don, you got to be good. So, like we talked about.
Well, and I hate to slow you down here, but the other thing too is when you're building a show, the first season, like we talked about, that rolling idea, and especially with Don, look at the first season of JAG versus the second season of JAG. He doesn't pitch the show and that's it. It's an ongoing process. It's a combination and a conversation between he'll write something, he'll see how the performers perform it. You remembered there were other actors there that aren't there anymore because he goes, okay, well, this isn't working. We'll get rid of this guy. We'll bring this guy in. And so that whole year of that, what you're talking about, seeing that something's there, it wasn't a foregone conclusion that you guys had a show. You were still kind of creating it. And
Absolutely.
so, and Don at that point is extremely committed. And when you're committed that much, it's like, it's a passion. So it's like, it can be either or on the same second.
I would get a call from Don on the way home, and I'd be talking to him, and he's like, he'd seen the dailies from something before, and he's like, no, you got to have more of this. You got to have more of that, and you're going, oh God, I got to work this out. I got to figure this thing out. But yeah, it is. He is like about the most passionate man I've ever known. And just wants it to be correct, wants it to be good and engaging. And it was great. We felt like we were onto something when we were, and like we talk about, you're figuring out who you are as a show when you're starting and what your strengths are and everything. And, like with Weatherly, it was when Weatherly started ad-libbing inside of his kind of DiNozzo character, the stuff he did and the tone of that was like perfect for the show and the character, all of it. So it was encouraged. Don then encouraged Michael to do that. And I was the straight man for Michael for a lot of that stuff. And I spent years doing scenes having no idea where we would go, just going with him. And I was the guy that would like bring him back to center every once in a while. I could go off on the adventure with him, during the ad-libbing or whatever it was, and then bring him back center get those boxes checked that you need to check as you go. Right, exactly. But that, and there was also, like talking about Harmon, the quarterback. Harmon saw the strengths in that and stuff and encouraged that and encouraged us. It was, that first year of NCIS, that was a good feeling. I mean, it was neat. It was, we just feel something building. It was really good.
Well, I mean, obviously it's been successful to the point where I think Jim Arness, we talked about this when I did the last episode, a couple people on the Dick Wolf shows like Law and Order. Aside from that, you have like within 5 people, you've done more episodes than anybody else of network television, period. That's a whole question. I mean, dude, I hate to tell you this. Math will tell you that you've almost spent more of your life on NCIS than you have not on NCIS. It's very close. Very close. You're getting there. So when you're doing that many episodes, just curious, do you have different relationships to different seasons? I used to compare it to like what I was doing with my family or the age of my son, or we went there, or I remember what happened on the day we shot it, but I may not remember what the episode happens in the episode, but I remember, that's the day I bought the chairs at Pottery Barn, on my lunch hour.
It's funny. We all have
how's
those.
It for you?
It's sometimes it's like that. Sometimes I can watch, say like an old show and remember all these little occurrences, little things of that, and remember what we had for lunch that day when we broke, and all this, and I can watch some episodes and I have no recollection of any of them, and I'm like, it's like I was, you know what I mean? Sometimes
you go, what am I going to do
next?
Old
episodes, and you're like, what? Yeah, what is this? Like every once in a while, you'll go in to do like an audio commentary for a DVD or a bonus feature or something, and they'll start playing the episodes, and you just kind of get quiet and start watching. Like, cool, I've never seen this before. I'm enjoying this. You know what I mean?
People always ask me, and it's like I think they're always disappointed with my answers. Little House and for JAG, do you watch the episodes? Because like other TV shows, I'll watch, you know, a show that I love. I've seen Magnum PI 5 times, all 8 seasons.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think I've seen Jag the night it aired, and then I never go back. How are
Yeah.
you as far as, do you rewatch your shows? Do you care? I
I
mean,
I I don't. I
mhm.
typically my I know everyone's a little bit different. Actors are different, about some actors like to watch everything that they do and learn from it. They find a way to
Yeah,
learn from it, stuff like that. That's never sort of really been my thing. I like
you're
doing it.
anti-learning.
What's that?
You're anti-learning. I don't believe
Yeah,
in
yeah,
learning.
yeah. No, it's just, the thing that makes me happy, I think, in this business, what I like to do every day, going on the set, doing scenes and stuff, that's usually what makes me happy. And I'm kind of good with that. Part of me realizes, that we have no control over edits and this and that and how things are cut
Yeah.
together or whatever. So like, I remember early on seeing my stuff, when I first booked jobs, first work, and just be horrified watching myself all the time. And I know that's just part of, the thing. But I think because of that, I just got in a habit of not really looking so much back at my work after I'd done it, or even watching stuff when it airs,
Well,
necessarily. I
again,
mean, there's
like I say,
definitely,
it's a unique situation where, oh, episode 60 through 300 were good, but episode 350 through 410, it's like there's just so much documented that
yeah,
I don't know how you would.
yeah. Yeah, it's a trip, and I don't know. Maybe one day I go. Maybe one day I go do a rewatch podcast and finally start to watch some of these. I mean, and I'm saying that, but I mean, there's certain episodes that I've done that I have watched more than once too, because I wanted to learn something from it, or thought I could learn
Well,
something
let's
from
go. Let's go there quickly.
it.
What would you say was your? I guess there's a couple of different ways to ask this.
Yes,
What was your favorite episode to shoot and your least favorite episode to shoot?
my favorite episode to shoot, I'm gonna say, was probably I want to say it's like episode 16 or 17 of season 1. I think it's called Dead Man Talking. Um, the episode title is, yeah, it's called Dead Man Talking. And there was it was a stakeout episode. It was an episode where like the script was really fun and really good, and we all the inception of what I feel like the show really started to become, and the characters started to emerge a little bit, was in this particular show. It was kind of a, yeah, it was a stakeout episode. Tony and McGee were doing like the night stakeout, while I think Kate and Gibbs were doing the day stakeout, and just all this little character stuff started to emerge. And I remember knowing what McGee, or having a feeling I was on to what McGee was during that episode. And that was,
And
I
what was
think
that? What was that
several
thought?
into I just, it was, it was, and yeah, I could be remembering this incorrectly, but just for me, it was the emerging of some of the relationships between the characters, especially Tony and McGee,
Hmm.
and where all of a sudden I could see it. It made sense to me. And I could
Right.
see that it had a lot of room to grow. I could see, like, whereas initially, I kind of, maybe, okay, rookie character, Norfolk, a little bit one note, whatever. I started to see kind of just a wider, like, birth for that character. I started to see, like, more, I still have my own, I have a very specific idea I won't share with anyone, but I have a very specific thing that I sort of based McGee on when I initially started. And it doesn't even really matter, because as it goes, it becomes its own. It grows.
Right. Right.
Part of you gets in there. Becomes its own thing. But I remember I had a pretty firm idea of what I thought McGee was. And I guess I'll say maybe that, like, remember Special Agent Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Kyle MacLachlan, for the
Yeah.
naivete that, like, that character had, this sort of like, yeah, this sort of, some of that informed a little. Not that I'm trying to say McGee is Agent Dale Cooper by any means, but some of that informed for me what McGee was this sort of like, I don't even know if I can say it right. If I don't even know how well I can verbalize exactly what I'm trying to say.
No,
here.
I get it.
There was a
Almost
naivete. There was
better. I get it better than anybody because I played Bud. And if you look
yeah,
at a chart of
yeah,
Don's, oeuvre of his writing,
hmm
the character of Bud or the character
yeah,
of Mac on Magnum PI was the character of Bud in Jag was the character of McGee, the
mm,
wide-eyed, for lack of a better term,
yeah,
new guy who's coming
yeah,
into the world. He's
right,
the eyes for the audience. Don
hmm
finds this character.
yeah,
Jeff McKay, who played Mac on Magnum, ended up playing my dad. I get confused sometimes. People get me confused with you, thinking that I'm on. Look, we're both human men, so I mean we look alike that way, but I don't think we look alike. But people confuse me sometimes. I don't know if they do that with you, but I
yeah,
think it's because of the Bud McGee similarity that there is
mm,
this. I pitched in my head the idea of Bud because Bud's dad was like a ne'er do well, that Bud wanted
yeah,
to do things right, and he looked up to Harm as being the one that would lead him into like doing it right because Harm was always right to Bud.
yeah.
And so sorry, not my podcast on me, but I
No, it
get
is
it.
your podcast.
I get true, but it's about you today. But the idea being that I get that. I mean, and there's a great place. And what's so unique about your experience on the show
Yeah,
is over 20 years, you can't be the naive guy. So you
right.
have to grow the character. But you're talking about episode 16, which is exactly in that area. What would be your least favorite episode that you did?
Oh man.
I'm not looking for you to like throw anyone under the bus. I'm just like
No,
saying
no,
some
no, no, no.
episodes are like
I'm trying to
hard.
think of least favorite episode. Um, I don't really have a least favorite. I don't. I wish I wish I had a good story or
What
something.
was the
But
hardest episode? I mean, what was the most difficult to make?
okay, here's one that we had. We had. I was actually talking to an actor that guest starred on an episode we did. I think it was in season 2 or 3. It was called Meat Puzzle. Remember, Ducky had their a meat puzzle. There was a crime scene, and body pieces have been found, and we're trying to put together Ducky's trying to figure out the case with these different body parts. Meat puzzle. I just remember the shooting of this one particular production day where we started, we started, and this is just purely of like just getting through it. We started at like 10 a.m. On a Friday we were filming at a cemetery in Pasadena.
Mm.
We filmed all day. Sun went down. We moved into the crematorium. Then we were in like a mausoleum. We're filming scenes. It was for whatever reason. It's just you know how this is in this business where there's like you've got on a TV production, all of a sudden you've got 2 days of work that you've got to get inside of one day because of a location, and they can only have a location for a certain amount of time or whatever. But basically, we worked a 21-hour day. It was out of
Oh,
control. I remember Michael and I on the phone to each other on the drive home so that we wouldn't fall
oh,
asleep. We were talking to each other so that we wouldn't fall asleep. They don't do that stuff anymore these days. They don't let
right,
people,
yeah.
they no TV production. They wouldn't quite let you do that anymore. But yeah, just in terms of just getting your ass kicked type of work day, I just remember that one always sticks out to me. Meat
That,
puzzle.
yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one. And I
Like
think
here's
also,
Patrick. Here's one
yeah.
I remember about Meat Puzzle. We had to switch the order of the shooting order around at the end of the day because the sun came up on us. So
We're losing the dark. We're losing the
we
dark.
were losing the dark. We were losing the dark. So we had to go. We had to move inside and do a whole thing. But that was
uh,
yeah. That was one of those days you get in your car after work and cry a little bit before you drive home.
it's just exhausting. And again,
Oh
for
yeah, people
people, I
don't
mean,
know. People don't know how much. I mean, how ass kicking. Not to sound like woe is me, but like network TV schedule, production. It's yeah, you were
oh
working
yeah,
a lot,
you
especially under
plus
Don. Don's
yeah,
shows. He wouldn't
yeah.
just let shit happen. If things weren't right, you went back and did it again.
We
you
called
stayed at it until it worked. So
we called JAG just another grand, because if you're forced call,
worst
if you're
calls.
called in
Yeah,
before a 12-hour rest, you get paid like $1,000, which is amazing.
that's right. Shoe money.
But JAG, for again, it worked with NCIS. For the first 2 seasons that I did JAG, it was a huge grind, and then they kind of figured everything out. In fact, I talked
Hmm.
to Mark Horowitz and Charles Johnson, who are producers on the show, and your
Yeah,
producers, and they,
yeah.
they figured it out over a period of a couple years. The same thing was happening with NCIS. We would hear horror stories like what you're talking about. We were in a more solid place, and you guys were figuring it all out those first couple of years. And
Hmm.
then, the quarterback comes in and he goes, okay, this is going to end. Here's how it's going to go. I don't know the actual speech. I don't know the exact, mechanisms, but I know that at one point Harmon kind of stepped in and said, we're killing our crew. We got to do this differently. And things changed. Was that
Yeah.
a moment, or was that something that just, from your point of view, how did that come about?
Um, I think that was kind of what you're talking about. I mean, I think that was just a case where the show kind of operated in a chaos. The production kind of operated in this state of chaos. Um, you know, and I think when it comes to the creative drive and being able to change things and go with what's working and change things that aren't, you're gonna have your 17, 19 hour days. You're gonna have
Right.
these where you're just trying to figure it out, where you're just but there comes a point when their their quality of life, that things need to be doable. I think you got to find a middle ground in terms of, especially with you're doing a network television show. You got to make 24 of these episodes a year. You've got to, I think you've got to find kind of a place where you're doing all that, the work that needs to be done and everything, but there's got to be sort of there's got to be there needs to be a
Well,
little quality of
the
life there,
phrase the
right?
phrase that keeps running into my head, and I
Hmm.
won't get the phrase right, but it's like, the person that creates and establishes the revolution isn't the right person to run the state, right? It's like there's two different types of people
Yeah.
that need to
No,
happen,
absolutely correct. No, you
and
know what? That's a really good way of looking at that, actually, for talking about that. Because the one thing
yeah,
is, even when Don was not involved with NCIS anymore,
uh-huh,
Don built that ship, with his
absolutely.
bare hands, and no one was going to mess with that ship. We were, not, you know what I mean. Even when even when Don stepped away from NCIS, the thing that he had set up, we were very true to that, and no one was going to
Oh
try
yeah.
and change, sort of changing the characters or do it's just, what, and it was so kind of clear to us what it needed to be. Um, so, you know, Don built that ship for it to sail, and it sailed for 23 years. No one tried to change what Don did in terms of that,
No, and I
with
think
NCIS.
what you deal with too, and you can see it in the beginning episodes, beginning seasons of your show, our show, and lots of shows, is what's hard about making these shows is when you've got a great cast that works together like you guys did, you want them
Yeah.
together. Towards
Right.
more, the older a show gets, the more you'll see different storylines go off, because then
Yeah.
you've got two actors working on a day and two actors working, or four actors working,
Right. Of
instead
course.
of
Of
like
course.
seven. And so it's
Yeah.
like when you're working with seven people, that's a lot to corral.
Oh, yeah.
And well, let's talk about the cast, okay? Because you guys have rotated casts a lot.
We've had a few iterations for sure in front of the cameras.
Right. And
Yeah.
so how does that affect you as a person going forward? You're losing your friends that you've worked with. New friends are coming in, but like how does that affect you when you're doing this show? Because you're now
Well,
the only consistent from season one to now, right?
yeah. Well, you've also got Brian Deason, who plays Jimmy Palmer, who was Ducky's assistant and is now our autopsy
Okay.
um, person. So Brian, you know, Jimmy Palmer's character is yeah, he was a recurring for several years, but he's been there. Brian Dietz has been there for yeah, him and I are like the ones that have been there for a minute.
Wow.
But yeah, sorry, what did I go? Sorry,
No, basically, like how is it your how do I mean, like, how do you find out
deal
Michael's
with
leaving the show? What do you think? Is it going to be the end
well,
of the
oh yeah,
show, or how do you?
like with Michael. I mean, you know, Michael and I are very close, and when Michael felt that it was time for him to kind of be done there, you know, and made that choice, obviously, I knew, you know, it's I've you know, I feel like I haven't lost anyone in the cast as we've gone. Like you know, people that we've worked with on the show for long periods of time, Paulie, Michael, you know, even when they ceased to be on the show, I've remained friends with everyone on the show who I've,
That's fair.
you know,
Yeah.
been, which is
Yeah.
true. I mean, and it doesn't always exist, but Harmon and Weatherly and Paulie, I mean, all, you know, all these guys saw Sasha not that long ago, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's been like, but it's actually also made, you know, I think people have said to me, like, you know, how do you do one show or one job for 23 years, one part, you know? Well, I said, well, I've gotten to play with like a lot of different people, a lot of different iterations. We've had, you know, I remember when when you know Harmon was getting ready to be done, and Gary was going to come in. I remember hearing that Gary was going to come in and being like, "Thank God Gary Cole's going to come." Like that, you know. I was always scared about. We were also so nervous about what name could possibly be said. You know, of who's going to come in and be on the show with you. You know, we've lucked out with Gary. But I actually I'd actually done a movie of the week with him when I was 19.
Oh my
Something called like
gosh.
yeah, I couldn't remember the name. He remembered the name of it though, because he's done a lot of these movie of the weeks too. For my
Yeah.
daughter's honor, we shot in some little place near yeah, who knows? But it's funny actually with Gary and Mark. I'd kind of worked with them previously to NCIS on a couple things. But like you know, Wilmer comes in,
Right.
you know, and plays Nick Torres.
Who, by the way, talk about
Yeah,
another guy that's like, I met Wilmer at an event for Terrence. At it was a wake for Terrence, and I met Wilmer there.
yeah.
God, could this guy be prettier? Like, what is going on there? It's so weird. It's like I know. Everyone knows he's attractive, but damn. Okay, please go ahead. My crush is over. But yeah, Wilmer comes on.
Wilmer's a beautiful man.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, Wilmer comes on, and um, I, it's, I not only, you know, I've been very fortunate with almost no exception. Everyone we've had come on the show has really, really gotten along with well and become really close with, you know, lifelong real friends with. Like Wilmer is one of my best brothers in the world. I love that guy to death. And, you know, if I get to play with Wilmer, and Wilmer comes in.
Yeah.
He's a completely different dynamic, different guy. You know, it just so happens we get along, and that's fantastic and everything. But he brings a whole new dynamic to the thing, and you know, I it's been you know not to sound like oh gee everything's so great, but we've been really fortunate, man. We've been really
Oh,
fortunate. The people that have come on
without
the
a doubt.
show
Yeah.
have been great and like really worked out, and we're such a tight. All of us in our different iterations are like we've always been tight with each other. It's kind of nuts because I know and you probably know how not tight a lot of people are that work together in this business, do shows together, you know, this, that, and the other. And like, so it's something real special to me.
We'll be back after these messages. Hey there, I'm Patrick Labyorteaux, and I've been an actor since I was a little kid. So I know what it's like to be a little kid actor. So I have a class here called Youth Weekly, and that meets every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, and it is an awesome class if you are young and want to learn all about acting. We have a great set of kids, and it's taught on Zoom, so you can do it from anywhere. You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your laptop, on an iPad. It's awesome. I've had kids take a class while they were in the car coming back from soccer practice. I swear to you. So if acting is in your blood, come to workingactorschool.com and check out the Youth Weekly class every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Pacific. I'll see you there. Act 3, present day. When you're on a show that is this long, I have my answer. How do you not just be done with it in your head? Like, what keeps you going so that it's not drudgery? Because no matter how pretty the woman is, no matter how amazing the money is or the great job it is, if you're doing the same thing over and over, if you're not coming to it with a fresh attitude, it's going to kill you. So what is it that you do to keep this going for yourself?
Well, I talked before. I love a set more than anything in the world, more than being anywhere in the world. I love a set, and when you have a good one, it's a rare rare thing, written very
Yeah.
very special. I've known a couple people to think the grass is greener somewhere else, but that's not necessarily always the case. And I've also I haven't gotten bored. Like we talked about how you play, sort of a wide-eyed rookie character. How there has to be growth there. That was something that we talked about, like right off the bat, as soon actually with the writers. Like when we knew McGee was going to be a permanent thing there,
That's cool.
we kind of made some rules that were like, you know what, it's not going to be baby Maggie Simpson. We're not going to revert to the same thing every week. No growth, and so as we've done this show, my character has grown, exponentially, and it does all kinds of things that never could have dreamed of doing in its first couple of years or anything like that. So it's I've just never gotten bored. I just have never gotten bored. If I was getting bored, I guess I would really like start to and not to say that you don't ever have moments where you get bored or anything, but like I love going up to the stages and going and playing make believe with Gary and Wilmer for a couple hours, 10 hours a day or whatever it is, and then going home. I love that. I love playing make believe. It's my favorite thing in the world. And I've been around to know that long enough to know that you're not always able to do that, to have to work as what you want to do and have a job where you're employed and you're, say it's a show that's on air and running. I mean, that's a rare thing, and that's already a rare thing. And if you get one where where all the pieces are good and feel right, like then you really just don't want to. I mean, at least I don't. Like I said, if I didn't like people I was working with, if I didn't love all those guys and love what I'm doing, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm a pretty simple guy, actually. I just like going and. I like going.
I have a lot of respect for that answer because I used to say I'd stay on JAG until it was a half-hour sitcom, because it's like why would you leave something that's working, especially in this business? So what you're saying
absolutely
to me makes exact sense. So it leads to this final question before the questions. When NCIS ends in like 30 seasons from now, what does Sean like really? Because you don't work too much on the hiatus. I'm imagining because you're a family dude, you don't want to waste your downtime.
Yeah, I mean, we just we work pretty bloody hard on the show. We're doing 9-10 months out of the year. So
so what do you want to do when the show's over? What would you love to be a part of that you're not doing right now?
I'm not exactly sure, to be perfectly honest with you, and I never have been. I think maybe that's sort of the way I've kind of gone about things here. I never know what's going to happen. I really never have known what's going to happen. And the fact that the NCIS is still going is fantastic and stuff. But, I also, not to sound lame, but I'm an actor. I've got, I want to portray different things, do different things, explore different characters and stuff. And hopefully when I have some free time and I'm itching to do that I'll be lucky enough to be employed and by someone that allows me to do the thing that, makes me happy, which is just playing make-believe, I guess. I know that sounds silly.
Bring back random years. Just bring back random years. We'll be back after these messages. Hey, I'm Patrick Labyorteaux, and I play an actor on TV, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. And I know what it's like if you are in a class with people and sometimes you just want to have that one-on-one connection with the person that you're working with to go over, I don't know, a particular scene, or maybe you have an audition, or maybe you just want the privacy to try stuff that you don't really know is going to work and not have anyone look at you. Well, I have the perfect solution for you. It's called One-on-One with Patrick Labyorteaux. You can book your time at workingactorsschool.com, and it's just me and you for an hour going over whatever it is you want to work on, breaking down the script, talking about character, figuring out your intention, the spine of the scene, everything that goes in to making a dynamite performance. So if you're interested in acting and want that one-on-one personal attention, check out One-on-One with Patrick Labyorteaux. You can find all the information you need at workingactorsschool.com. Act 4, questions. Okay, so now we're into the questions, and these are questions that actually are called Tina's Gotta Know, because they're questions that Tina came up with.
All right.
The first question is, that's showbiz. What is the most Hollywood moment in your life?
The most Hollywood moment in my life. You mean like the most Hollywood thing I've ever...
Yeah, like a red carpet
Oh,
experience,
man.
or meeting the Queen, or whatever you think of when you think of Hollywood and you're there, you're a part of it.
You know
I would
what?
say-
You know what happened
yeah.
to me, which was, this may not be quite what you're asking for, but this happened to me, and to me, this was wild. I thought this was like the coolest thing ever. Like I said, this may not be a really Hollywood thing, but for me, in terms of like golden Hollywood, if I ever got to be a part of anything, sort of thing, I was coming out of a dinner at the Beverly Hills Hotel. I think we were in the first several seasons of NCIS, maybe 5 or 6, seasons. Anyway, I was coming out, and I was at the valet, and a guy said to me, "Excuse me, are you Sean Murray, NCIS?" And I said, "Oh yeah." And he said, "Hey, I'm a real big fan of what you do, and I really think what you do is terrific." And he paid me some nice compliments, and he said, "I'm a writer. My name's Robert." And I talked to him a little bit. Come to find out, it's Robert Town, who of Chinatown and everything else.
Oh my gosh.
Who was
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah, who was a big NCIS fan and approached me, and I'm like, I mean, like Chinatown is in my top 3 movies of all time. Robert Town is, Hollywood
Yeah, a
royalty.
legend.
So to have Robert Town come up to me at a valet and be like, "Hey, you're really good. I really think what you do is good. You do good work, blah, blah, blah." I was like,
That's great. Oh
that's
man,
like amazing.
I would
That's the
I
best
would
thing
dine
ever.
on that for a long time. That's a
Oh yeah, no, that one
story.
was nice. And we've I mean, NCIS has been around for a minute, but we've had some pretty cool people kind of express their fandom of the show. I know early on, Jack Nicholson used to, like, I think Harmon went to one of the Laker games at one point, and Jack, came up talking years ago, and he's a huge fan of the show. And I guess Gary Oldman's a big fan of the show. Gary Oldman is my hero. Okay, as far as actors. And I guess he's talked to, he was telling Weatherly about that, every time he's in America making movies, he's stuck in these hotels and you just watch television all the time, and so that's where he got into NCIS. But I love that stuff. I love hearing about that thing.
I want to see NCIS Slough House. Okay, so number 2, that's Showbiz Part 2. What's the most embarrassing Hollywood moment in your life?
The most embarrassing Hollywood moment. Oh man. I think I'm sure I have my fair share of embarrassing moments. I think I've just blanked them out though. I think
Not a
for
problem.
self-preservation purposes, I don't know.
Number 3, show me the money. What is your biggest missed financial opportunity?
I mean, in terms of missed financial opportunity, I just think of, I was a kid actor coming up in the '90s and stuff. So I mean, there was plenty of, there's a million things that I was second choice for, or only,
Right.
I was second choice for Pacey in Dawson's Creek. I remember showing up to the screen test and, the network test, and Vanderbeek was there. And I remember looking at Vanderbeek and Josh Jackson being like, "Well, clearly that's what's going to happen." So, and those guys are
Yeah, you guys
terrific
had
and
the
amazing,
similar
but I mean,
coloring together. It would be like
yeah,
Dawson
yeah, and
Other Dawson. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but I mean, I've got plenty of those. We've all got those.
Yeah.
Those like, oh, that thing that became such a giant, hit for years or whatever. I was second choice on, but I mean, that's just part of the deal, I guess. I mean,
Okay, number 4, show and tell. As a teenager, what was the poster in your room that you loved, and where did you get it? Like, what's your favorite poster, and how do you come to get it?
I had a velvet poster of Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction cover with the skulls and the cross, giant velvet style in my room. And I think that's like the only poster I think I ever like got, but that was it. That was the penultimate poster. It was like centered above the bed, like it was something religious. It was ridiculous. But I remember that poster very well. Yeah, it was a very thick velvet, Patrick. It was very thick.
That we're talking quality art, and
Oh, it was good stuff.
one of my favorite bands. So well played.
Oh,
Number 5, showdown, goes back to the kind of question we were just talking about. What's the best thing you ever did, and the worst thing you ever did?
yeah, but I've also kind of come to the opinion as I've gone that, like, I can be looking at myself and be feeling the worst of things watching myself in a scene or something, and it not I'm reading into things differently than other. I feel an actor can be like, you can be thinking you're doing awful work and be doing great work, and you could be thinking you're doing great work and be doing awful
Yeah, but this
work.
is what you
And
think. I mean, we don't care about what the objective viewpoint is. Like, what do you think
gotcha.
was your best thing that you did, and the thing that you
Wow.
just, I wish I could do over?
Man, that's I'll tell you what. I'll tell you this, since because you were mentioning Random Years. I never
Yeah.
watched Random Years, and fairly recently, a couple months ago, someone brought it to my attention that like they had uploaded every episode on TikTok or on some social media, like they
Yeah.
do. Anyway, so I had never seen the show. I remember doing it back then. Um, but I watched like 2 full episodes of Random Years, and I was like, it's pretty good, man. That was pretty good. I never look at myself and go, "That was pretty good." But I for whatever reason, and I'm not even really comfortable with the sitcom format. It was a kind of a new thing for me. So, but whatever reason, I watched those. I was like, it was pretty damn good. That was not bad,
Yeah.
especially with what we had to work with and stuff. So, yeah. And in terms of oh, I can remember. I remember, and maybe I can put this up in the embarrassing category too. I remember when Hocus Pocus came out on like opening night, going to a theater somewhere in Universal City,
Uh,
and like hiding in the back of the theater and watching it. And I just remember because the opening is the
is your
whole
stuff. Yeah.
thing with,
The
yeah,
backstory.
with is my stuff, yeah. And I remember like I didn't know what a panic attack was until that evening. The feeling of seeing myself on a screen like that, I was so terrified. I've never been more terrified in my life. And maybe that was so traumatizing that's why I don't watch myself typically. Because I remember watching myself on a giant screen and going, "Oh my God, I can't handle this. I can't handle this."
Yeah, it can be surprising for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, number 6, no show. You only got a couple more. What part
Yeah.
did you want, really, really want, but didn't get? Like, we were just talking about this, but like one of the ones that you were like, I mean, does it go back to this boy's life, or is it something in
No,
between?
absolutely. And actually, that was where my brain first went because the
Yeah.
This Boy's Life script, I through the auditioning process and stuff, I knew backwards and forwards. And actually, that script meant a lot to me. It was special to me. I really, so yeah, obviously didn't get This Boy's Life. That was one that I would have been. I would have been happy to have because I was real crazy. But and it was nice that I got to go do a little thing in it. But knowing the movie and seeing what it became, Leo couldn't have been better for that thing. It was bloody perfect. It was so great. But I remember, and also at the time, I don't. It was Meryl Streep was going to be the mother
Oh my
originally.
God.
in the original. So the original talks were it was Meryl and Bobby De Niro starring this kid, you know. And so that one was one. That one I wanted real bad. Yeah, that was one of my early experiences of like, ah, man, I could almost had that guy.
You know,
So
it's amazing when you think about it from a professional actor's point of view, where you talked earlier about like an hour-long meeting with the director, Canton Jones, and
Kate Jones, yeah.
and Robert De Niro,
Mhm.
where when you're working a character and you're working with these two people for an hour, whereas you can be in a big movie, you can get the part and be in a scene with Robert De Niro and it be done in 15 minutes. And
Mhm.
so it's like, it's not like you didn't have that interaction that is so fantastic.
No, I
It's
did.
just it's surprising. I get why it would be like your white whale.
Yeah, and also like De Niro, like Taxi Driver was my favorite movie as a kid. I know that sounds insane, but
It
it
is
was.
insane.
Yeah, that's completely insane. But so yeah, I mean, there was even that whole aspect of even though I was young and sort of didn't quite know what was going on, the being able to work with and connect with an actor like that, that was, and it's funny because I think back now and I can remember all that time I spent in the room with those two guys and all the scenes we did and
Right.
reading, all that stuff. And it was so like, even if I didn't, do the movie or whatever, I had great experiences. I
Right.
got to go in a room with De Niro and just read scenes. Like, so, I mean, that alone to me is better than, you know,
Yeah. I mean,
not having anything at all.
it
So
speaks for itself. Yeah.
yeah, so I never really like that's one of the I never really got into the thing of like, man, that was mine. I should have had that sort of kind of thing. But that
Okay.
was one of the few, And I think maybe that's where I kind of learned my lesson where like, look, things are just kind of gonna be what they're gonna be. And now, so don't,
Right.
things go whatever, I had a guy, Al Honorado, my manager for many years, that just kind of really taught me that like, look, simple to say, but the old thing of like, look, if it's meant to be, that's what it'll be. So if it's not,
Yeah.
it's something else will be. It's whatever it's going to be. So
That makes sense. Okay. So, number 7, favorite show. What movie has most influenced you?
what movie has most influenced me? Um, Hell, I'll just probably say Taxi Driver I mean, yeah, from just an acting sort of standpoint and watching an actor's work. I mean, I've got obviously I love cinema. There's a million things,
Sure.
that I love, but I think in terms of like an impact of a performance and something that just meant so much to me and continues to is Taxi Driver.
Great, great, great
Yeah.
answer. And connected to that is number 8. Well, only 2 more questions. Number 8, show me again. What movie do you rewatch the most? Could be different than Taxi Driver, but like, what's your
Oh
comfort
yeah,
film?
Chinatown.
Wow.
And
So that's a big
honestly, that's
deal.
not just that
Uh huh.
Chinatown is a huge deal for me. But you know what? I'll tell you one that actually has become comfort food for me in the last couple years, and I stick it on at least every couple months, and I can just watch it and revel in every little beat of it, every color, everything. Is I can love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think it's one of the best films that's been done in a very, 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 very long time. It's just my favorite. I mean, every beat of that from start to finish, I adore that film. And so
There's
that's
so
actually
much to
become,
like about. Yeah.
oh,
I mean, it
it's
goes
so,
right back to the very first thing we were talking about, the magic of the set, right?
yeah, yeah,
Leo.
yeah.
The relationship between Leo and his stuntman, or Cliff and
Oh,
his
so
stuntman,
fantastic.
not
Yep.
Cliff, but and
Yeah, Cliff Booth.
what I love about his performance is he's got this stutter that I didn't pick up for like 2 or 3 viewings. That him as a person,
Oh, I
not the
love it.
actor, he's
Yeah.
just this mess of a human.
Oh, he's a
Just and
disaster. It's
yeah,
fantastic.
and of course the love that Quentin has for Hollywood and something that you and I have both grown up in. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get that, and it's such a great movie because how episodic it is. It's like they've got these pieces that are each individually wonderful to watch.
Oh yeah. I
right,
gotta
final
say, too, I
question.
mean, there's a million things in that movie I
Yeah.
love, but the driving shots are some of my absolute favorite. The driving shots through the
Yep.
Hollywood Hills. Oh my God, so fantastic. There's so many things about. I could talk about that movie for hours, but anyway, sorry.
No problem. Okay, so finally, number 9, show me some love. What's your favorite performance of mine?
Oh my God. Well, summer school has always meant a lot to me, Patrick. I got to be perfectly honest with you. Summer
Mr.
school
Shoop,
is
you
like,
know him well.
yeah, yeah. I've always I love the summer school. It has a very special place in my heart, Patrick. I swear.
I agree. I thank you for that. I do have a really great place in my heart for it as well. We share
Nice.
our brother in arms with Harmon.
Yes.
Sean, thank you so much for doing this. You were an excellent guest.
Well, thanks, Patrick.
Continued success. Hopefully you're picked up for another season, squeaking by in season 28, 29. What is it now?
22.
22. Okay.
23. 23. We're on 23.
You're
We'll see.
You're just a young college kid. Yeah, you're gonna do fine. So, congratulations, and again, thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Patrick.
This has been wonderful hanging out.
No, man, it was awesome talking to you. Thank you so much, Patrick. Good to see you, man, as always.
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux Show. Patrick Labyorteaux. He's the one you gotta know.
Hey, everybody! I'm so glad that you're enjoying the podcast and checking it out. It is an audio podcast wherever you get your audio podcast, and it's a video podcast over on YouTube. My socials are all patrick.labyorteaux, and that is on Instagram, on YouTube, on TikTok. I'm everywhere. If you want information on the school, you can go to workingactorsschool.com. We have classes going all the time. It's a lot of fun. I suggest you check it out. Hey, we'll see you next time.
It's the Patrick Labyorteaux Show. Patrick Labyorteaux. He's the one you gotta know.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.